Reddit, a site that is the sanctuary for every lonely soul in search of companion and memes. A site where you can find people who also like that obscure thing you like and talk about it to death. A site which, let's face it, is basically 4chan with mods and regulations. In every one of the millions of subreddits, moderators and users live together in peace and strive to make their community bigger, better, funner. And deep into Reddit's galaxy, there existed the subreddit just like any other, with the same repetitive jokes, just recycling over and over, and once in a while, some original content. Until one day, the incident happened. Welcome to the Animemes Civil War. A mod announcement came to disturb the calm waters, informing the good people of Animemes that there has been a change in Rule 5, titled Be Nice. The word trap has been banned. The mods, of course, left an explanation in the post, among a slightly condescending list of a Q&A about the reason behind the decision, and they left the comments open, encouraging the community to air their grievances. And air their grievances they did. A barrage of negative comments. Actually, that's an understatement. A tidal wave of backlash came down on the post. Users were criticizing the decision and arguing against it, while trying to convince the mods that this measure was a mistake. Transgendered and cis individuals banded together to fight oppression and censorship. Some tried appealing to the mods, explaining that in their zeal to rid the world of sexism, racism, and everything not nice, they took a step too far. Others were not so kind. Also, the fact that the post was made using the contest mode, a tool that randomized comment order and hit the scores, revealed a dark shadow looming over the subreddit. That and the ban hammer that struck down several accounts and comments. Oh, and the fact that the second mod in command was calling users every insult she could think of, both in the Animemes subreddit and other external ones. But finally, a new announcement came. We fucked up, the mods exclaimed. The change was rushed, mismanaged, and some of our mods are assholes. We understand and value your input, so let's talk it out. And talk it out they did. Which basically means that the community just repeated the reasons they thought the change was not a good idea, and the second mod in command was a bit nicer. So what were the community's arguments? Why would they object to the word trap being banned? Well, first things first. No matter what your beliefs and opinions on trans people are, you have to set them aside and try to talk this out as objectively as possible. First, what does the word trap mean exactly? Well, it's an English word that meant to translate the Japanese concept of otokonoko, which sounds like an Indian village name. And as Wikipedia Chama will tell us, it is a term for men who adopt a culturally feminine gender expression, usually through cross-dressing or cross-play. So that means that the person in question is in fact both biologically and mentally a male. Unless it's a reverse trap, but let's keep it simple. So by definition, there is no gender dysphoria, and therefore that person is not trans. However, some people use the word trap when talking about actual trans people, showing no respect to their gender identity, and therefore, according to the mods, it's a slur. But what about the people who actually are traps? There is a significant community comprised of not only cross-dressers that identify as their assigned gender while taking on traits from the opposite one.
Oh shit, damn, you looking real cute. What's your name?
Thanks. My name is Felix.
Oh shit. I'm killing myself.
Upon hearing that, the mod suggested some alternative words, which were pretty close to actual slurs towards trans people. So the users pointed out that just shuffling words around won't change the intent behind the word, and that it depends on the context of the word use. Some actual transweebs chimed in and supported the users, but the mods wouldn't let the discussion go anywhere. Just like the petition that was formed for the unbanning of the word trap on change.org. So much for finding a solution that will work for everyone. So the users, disappointed of the mod's stubbornness, decided to start one of the biggest revolutions Reddit has ever seen. For the first time in years, the Animemes subreddit had some actual original and funny content. The users that were mildly annoyed by the change were now furious. For them, it was not about the T-word anymore, as it came to be called. For them, it was about stopping the mods from banning anything they don't like and breaking their own rules whenever it were convenient. For them, it was about stopping a dictatorship from forming. Well, that's a bit too much, but they were abusing the powers to an unsettling degree. So, as ancient Reddit law dictates, no, commands, they began roasting the mods with an endless stream of memes.
Shoot me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of them. The second-in-command mod communicated that this was a juvenile attempt by quote-unquote bigots and chads that would eventually get bored and leave them be. After all, losing 10,000 subs wasn't a big deal for a subreddit that was gearing up to break the million barrier. And leave them be, they did not. But the sub did lose 35,000 subs in the first day and more than 100,000 in the subsequent days. The revolution was starting to gain steam, so the mods were forced to sit down and self-reflect. Where did this go wrong? Why are more than half our active users rebelling? Could we actually have acted in a fascistic way, imposing our opinions on hundreds of thousands of people and refusing to acknowledge their will? Yeah, they didn't actually think about the last one, so they posted this announcement. Misconceptions Clarification. Catchy title. Have mods been shadow banning? No. Are you silencing those who disagree? No. Are you lying? No. So other than the fact that the ban was not lifted, turns out the mods were shadow banning and silencing users, along with some other shady practices. Did it? Like not allowing users from a huge list that the mods made to post or comment, and auto-collapsing comments to stifle discussion. Around that time, a huge group of users that had yet to join the war decided to step out of the shadows and start posting. It was the lurkers. A huge number of users that had never posted or commented in the subreddit before started raising their voices and pleading for the mods to raise the ban.
Mr. Moderator, tear down this ban.
The revolution was not slowing down, and the mods started to realize that it wasn't such a small percentage of users that was outraged after all. So during a night storm, they snuck in the rule chamber and changed the rule. The next morning, the deed was done. The word lurker was banned. Well, not as much banned, as you are not allowed to identify yourself as a lurker in the title of the post. Still, that's pretty low. The anime adaptation of the war that had started airing a few weeks ago was getting popular, providing the soldiers with much needed morale boost. In the midst of chaos, someone tried to use the word trick instead of the word trap, and he was banned.
So, trying out some new phrasing, we have a picture of some wonderful trap characters, and then right below that, the classic Star Wars meme, it's a trap, except the text is obviously changed to it's a trick, hence the title saying trying out some new phrasing. And hence why I'm saying this is like an Onion article, because the mods actually also deleted this post. They removed this. Apparently you can't say trick anymore either.
Meanwhile, a new subreddit was getting friction, getting thousands of subs every day. It even got featured on that little sidebar with the most trending subreddits. It was Good Animemes. Exiles and refugees from the war flocked to the newly founded haven to escape all the aggressiveness and destruction. And because they wanted some memes. Animemes, on the other hand, was ravaged by war and tyranny. The second-in-command mod resigned, issuing a rushed apology that, if anything, just showed that she took the fall as a scapegoat. Also, look at the score. And that's how the war continued, with an unstoppable torrent of memes and the mods waiting out. It was a stalemate, and it went on for about a week, which in internet time, that's a really long time without any new stuff happening. Until the Animemes mods have taken down the subreddit temporarily, citing hiatus as an excuse. I guess they do watch some anime after all. The weebs rejoiced. They celebrated this as a victory and the end of the war, and that's exactly how they have fallen into the mods trap. Allow me to explain. The mods realized that they can't win the war. If this went any further, they would lose more than half their users and not be the biggest anime subreddit anymore. So they put it in ice. They are waiting out until the whole war is forgotten and the soldiers return home. Then, with no one to stop the reign of terror, they will come back and keep the sweet, sweet power over the subreddit. Just goes to show how far they're willing to go, so they don't give in even an inch. No matter how wrong, no matter how criticized, the mods will hold their ground and won't entertain the thought that they might actually be wrong. Quick update. As I was editing this video, there has been some developments. The moderators have taken the subreddit out of hiatus and opened it up to the public again. Well, not exactly. It's basically a Facebook group, and a bad one specifically. With that, I mean that the memes are stale and that you need mod approval for your meme to actually be posted on the subreddit. Also, the comments are closed. Fun!
Fuck you! Fuck you, fuck you! Fuck you!
So, I was kinda right, in the sense that the subreddit has become a totalitarian regime hellscape where only memes approved by the Big Brother go through and no one can speak their minds. They also deleted thousands of Civil War memes, but there are some that managed to slip through the cracks. Believe me, I checked. They also added 4 new whole rule sections to the already numerous rules and fortified the now infamous Be Nice rule against future revolutions. Oh, and this is the vanilla version. There's also an extended rule section. Nothing screams more fun than locked comments, pre-approved memes, and a wall of rules. So what will happen for the next few weeks is that the mods will keep the curfew on and gradually start giving the users freedom, right by right. First, I guess, they will allow comments, in contest mode. Then, if all goes well, unlimited comments, and finally, no filter in the uploads. They will move carefully, not allowing the sub to be free, until they are sure that everyone will comply with their arbitrary rules.
Welcome to Duloc, such a perfect town. Here we have some rules, let us lay them down. Please keep up on the grass, shine your shoes, wipe your face.
It's actually pretty well played. Someone has logged their hours to Tropico. Update over. And that's the events of the war so far. Watching this, you might arrive to the conclusion that despite all that has happened, the mods were right to take those actions. And that's fine. I was gonna make the video longer, arguing about why I think the rebels were right, but halfway in, I realized that the video would be too long. So I will make another video about that if there's enough interest. If you're watching this in the future, there should be a link to it on your screen right about now. If not, consider watching another one of my videos and subscribing so that you won't miss the sequel. You should also ring that bell, since you're kinda gambling with just subscribing on whether or not you're going to get notified. I also have some socials up, so maybe you wanna check them out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
You're mad. I'm Trap.